existed for a long time without those things existing. And for a brief moment, I want to discard all the hypotheticals, and I would like to talk about Adriana Smith. She is a woman who is brain dead in the state of Georgia, and because of these pro-life heartbeat bills.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Genuinely glad you're here for this one. So what we have today is a room full of Christian women and atheist women sitting face to face, and they are not holding back. We are talking about God, government, morality, and some of the most personal questions a person can wrestle with. And the conversation goes places that honestly I did not expect. There is one moment toward the end of this video that completely changed the energy in that room, and I think it is going to change how you see this debate too. So do yourself a favor and stick with this one all the way through, because the second half is where everything gets real. Before we get into it, drop a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from. It genuinely means a lot to see where this community is coming from. And I read more of those than you probably think. All right, let's get into it.
Sideways. Okay. Who would like to answer? Doesn't matter.
So I would say that politics should stay out of the church, in the sense that we should not be we shouldn't get a political view and try to put it on the Bible. We should allow the Bible to speak into whatever political issue is happening, just like anyone. If someone is, an atheist, they have a system of beliefs. I understand that it's not the same as Christianity. I understand it's not the same as other religions, but it's still a system of beliefs of what you believe is morally right and morally wrong. No one is completely amoral, and so I don't believe in a theocracy. I denounce any concept of a theocracy completely. But I will say that we all believe what is good and what is evil, and I'm just going to vote according to what I believe is good and evil, and I believe that God defines what is good and what is evil.
I think the difference is when I say I so strongly believe that religion needs to stay out of politics, is my belief system allows you to do what you want and to live the piece of your life. You putting your religion into my belief system restricts what I can do with my life based on what you believe. I'm pro-choice. You're pro-life, that's great. You should be pro-life for you and for what you believe. I don't believe in mandating vaccines. I don't think the government should tell you what to do with your body, so I'm on your side. You can get them or you can't. The second that you start voting based on your religious beliefs, you're restricting me based on what your morality is, with gay marriage, et cetera, et cetera. That is inherently not okay, because you're adding God to a belief system, a government that's evil, that you think is evil. It's created by man, so it must be inherently evil, and you're trying to have God meddle and rule in it. And I think inherently that's just gonna get really messy.
I have a question for you. So when you say you're pro-choice, or like you're pro or anti these issues, what exactly, where are you deriving how that's good or how that's bad? I know for me, if I'm pro-life, I back it up with science. So how do you decide what is good and what is bad, and why is it okay for you to impress your kind of beliefs on me if I disagree with you?
Well, I have a horizontal morality, whereas I would describe Christians have a vertical morality. So what you think is right or wrong is how it affects God and what God deems it sin or not. And I think what is right or wrong is how it affects other people around me, which is why I totally believe that being gay is okay, and most Christians don't. When it comes to the ethics of abortion, I don't think we need to get into all those details, because the debate is not about that. What the original question was putting religion into it, and if you feel spiritually within your bones that getting an abortion is not okay, I am on your side, and you are totally allowed to do that with your body. As somebody who has had 2 miscarriages and personally has the privilege to not ever have to get an elected abortion, I am still pro-choice, because I am pro-life for argument's sake for my own body, and that the argument really comes down to your own body and your own choices, because debating on life at conception and all of that is just not, I don't think it's.
And that's why I was a little sideways, because I do understand if all our views are just put into politics, then that's kind of not America. America is a melting pot. You're allowed to have your views and your beliefs. And so that's why I said I was a little sideways, because I am a Christian and I do want our views, but I also have to be realistic and we have to be understanding of our world. We're a melting pot. We have people from Uganda and we have people from all over the world that have different views and different faith and different perspectives on their religion. And so I do believe it should be separated, because we don't want to marginalize people because they are an atheist, or we don't want to marginalize people because they have different views.
This is the moment where the conversation stops being polite and starts getting real. Because one of the atheist women said something that cuts straight to the heart of why this debate even exists. She said this: "My belief system allows you to do what you want and to live the peace of your life. You putting your religion into my belief system restricts what I can do with my life based on what you believe." That is the entire argument, in 2 sentences. Because here's what people don't realize. Nobody in that room is attacking anyone's right to have faith. The issue is when personal belief becomes the law that governs people who don't share it. Those are 2 completely different things, and they keep getting treated like they're the same. Think about it like this. 2 neighbors. One believes deeply that a certain lifestyle is wrong, and the other lives it openly. As long as it stays personal, no problem. The moment one starts lobbying for laws that restrict the other's life based purely on their own conviction, it stops being about faith and starts being about control. That is the line she was drawing. And then she said this: "The second that you start voting based on your religious beliefs, you're restricting me based on what your morality is with gay marriage." Notice she didn't say stop believing. She said understand what it means when you legislate those beliefs. Then she introduced the concept of horizontal morality versus vertical morality. Horizontal, right and wrong, is measured by the impact on the people around you. Vertical, right and wrong, is measured by alignment with God. And that distinction explains almost everything about why these 2 sides keep talking past each other. One side is asking, how does this affect real people? The other is asking, what does God say? Those are fundamentally different starting points with fundamentally different answers.
And we do believe God is very just. And so if you're going to be in this, if you're going to be in America, I do believe that there should be a little separation there, so that everyone can experience a good life and justice here.
I think it's levels to it. I voted that I think there should be a separation, but you said something. You said you shouldn't let your beliefs influence your vote, but I think voting is your vote. It's whatever you want to vote. I am going to vote my beliefs and my convictions, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. But once there's laws set, I'm going to respect the laws of the land. You get what I'm saying? Like, give Caesar's what Caesar's, give God what's God. So I understand that separation, but with my personal convictions, I think that that's a level that we have the right to vote, and that's something that we should appreciate. So we shouldn't say what someone should vote based off of, because whether you're Christian or not, you have a belief system, like she said, and you're going to vote based off of that. But once the laws are there, what can I do about it? Like, I'm going to respect it, but I will take advantage of my vote to do what I'm convicted to do is the right thing.
Yeah, I think everyone is entitled to their own beliefs, obviously. Like, you're going to believe what you believe. It's going to influence how you participate in civic society and things like that. Where I have a problem is a lot of Christians don't agree with you guys on keeping religion out of politics. And my entire family is Christian, and they all don't believe in the separation of church and state. And I think that's troubling.
I think the U.S. doesn't even really believe in separation of church and state. We look at the dollar. It says, "In God we trust." We pledge allegiance to the flag. One nation. Let me talk, babe. Thank you. One nation under God. So we can't say, oh, separation of church and state. The whole United States has been built on the sovereignty of God. And I think that it has, you can look at your dollar bills if you have one, you can look, it's there. But I just want to say, like, the only way to truly have a fair morality is to go to the one that's good. So the Bible says that when the wicked rule, people mourn, but when the righteous rule, people rejoice. We want more leadership in the hands of the righteous. So that's why I think that God should be involved in government, because he is the best judge. But I think we got into government because we simply just left God. God wanted to be our original king.
I don't believe in God or the Bible.
Babe, thank you. It's yours. Go ahead. I'm done.
Sorry, I don't believe in God or the Bible.
That's
so
okay.
Why should that have any ruling over my life?
And also to rule, like you said, to rule in the land, like with righteousness and just. How can you say that when so many people are persecuted by this rule under religious doctrine? I mean, My own father fled religious persecution, and I've had family members killed for their religious beliefs.
What kind of religion is it though? Was it Christian beliefs? Because I don't think
it matters, because I think all
We're talking about
religions.
Christians, not Muslims. We're talking about Christians. So,
But the thing is that the point is that you put enough doctrine into any sort of political system, there suddenly becomes a law that makes it okay to kill people for not believing in said religion. It has
and that
happened
goes against the
multiple
biblical
times throughout
and
history.
that's like another religion, but our religion, following Jesus, we don't kill people.
But it's the path
I'm
to
just saying, so,
fundamentalism.
like,
My
Hold on one
dad
second.
was
Hold on one second.
persecuted by Christianity.
Well, that's unjust according to the Bible.
Here is where the historical facts enter the room. Because one of the Christian women made a claim that I think a lot of people would just nod along to without questioning it. She said this: "The whole United States has been built on the sovereignty of God." And I want to be genuinely fair here. I understand why someone raised in that tradition would feel that deeply. But the historical record on this is actually very clear. The founding documents of the United States were deliberately crafted without a state religion. The people who wrote those documents had watched what happened in Europe when governments and religious institutions became inseparable. They saw the consequences firsthand, and they made a very deliberate choice to draw a line. That is not a modern reinterpretation. That is documented history. So when that claim gets made, well, it deserves to be examined, not just accepted. And then one of the atheist women responded with something that stopped the room. She said this: "I don't believe in God or the Bible, so why should that have any ruling over my life?" And here's what's important about that question. It is not hostile. It is not angry. It is simply asking for a secular justification. If the foundation of a law is a religious text that a large portion of citizens do not follow, what is the non-religious reason that law should apply to them? That is a legitimate question, and it almost never gets a clean answer in these conversations. And then she made a broader historical point. She said this: "You put enough doctrine into any sort of political system, there suddenly becomes a law that makes it okay to cause harm to people for not believing in said religion." That pattern has been documented across multiple civilizations over centuries. It is not a hypothetical. It is a recurring consequence.
So Johanna,
Yeah.
question for you. Is it possible to fully separate the church from the state in America? Do you believe that?
I think it's possible, but I think the only way to truly understand and live in morality is through Jesus. Like we look at Hitler, obviously it was wrong that he killed all those Jews, but according to that government, wicked people ruled, so that's what happened. So I just believe that God wants more leadership in the hands of the righteous. So it's possible, but I think following God is the best way.
Will you recognize, though, when the wicked are the Christians? Would you be able to recognize
There
that?
are some wicked people, but they are not true Christians, as we mentioned.
I want to hear from you.
Specifically, what I would like to say is that if Christians didn't kill people, there would be no need for churches inside of prisons.
That goes
And
against
at this
biblical principles.
excuse me.
Okay.
At this point, they are the majority inside of the prisons. Whether we like to admit it or not, people who are Christians kill. They do every single kind of thing. And what I really wanted to talk to you about is that there is religious propaganda, and you did eat it all up. Because in the 50s, when we were coming out of the Second World War, and at this point in time, there was a lot of, the commies are bad and they're atheists, so we're going to lean in and we're going to double down on we're Christians. That's when we added "In God We Trust" to our dollars, and we existed for a long time without those things existing. And for a brief moment, I want to discard all the hypotheticals, and I would like to talk about Adriana Smith. She is a woman who is brain dead in the state of Georgia, and because of these pro-life heartbeat bills, her body is being used to have a pregnancy to term without her consent, without her knowledge, without her having anything to do with it. The machines are hooking her up and they're breathing for her because she is pregnant. So at this point, it's not about what can you do or is it bad or is it not? It's that these laws coming into place, they have no say as to the individual families and the costs that they will have to pay for some lawmakers who don't even know you, don't even know who you are. They don't know if you have the money or the job or the work to feed your family, and yet they feel like they have this moral authority over you to tell you that you need to be pro-life.
And then, this is the moment I need you to really pay attention to, because one of the atheist women made what I think is one of the most grounded and factual challenges in this entire conversation. She pointed directly to prison demographics, making the argument that if Christian faith automatically produced the kind of righteous outcomes its proponents claim, the data on who ends up incarcerated would tell a very different story. That is not an emotional argument. That is a direct challenge to a factual claim, and it deserves a real answer, not a deflection. And then she dropped something that genuinely shifted the energy in that room. She pointed out that the phrase "in God we trust" was not an original founding principle of this country. I mean, it was added to the currency in the 1950s, during a period of extreme political anxiety, when the underlying message was essentially a statement of identity against an ideological opponent. That is not a spiritual origin story. That is a political maneuver. And she said this: "We existed for a long time without those things existing." That is a documented historical fact, and what makes it powerful is that most people have simply never been told this. They inherited these symbols as if they had always been there. They had not. But the moment that will stay with people the longest from this entire conversation is when she brought up Adriana Smith, a real woman, a named individual, not a hypothetical constructed to win a debate point, and she described how her body is being used to carry a pregnancy to term without her consent, and without her knowledge, without her having any say in it whatsoever. And then she said this: "They feel like they have this moral authority over you to tell you that you need to be pro-life." You have to understand what that moment did to this conversation, because everything up to that point had been about belief systems and theological frameworks, and she pulled it entirely out of the abstract and placed it into a real human life, a woman who cannot speak for herself, a family with no control over what happens next, and a law that overrides all of it based on someone else's conviction. This is why these conversations need to keep happening, not because faith is wrong, but because when personal religious conviction becomes binding public policy with no room for individual circumstance, real people carry the weight of it. And those people deserve to be seen. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.